Hi and welcome to this new video, and in this video I'm talking about one of the new features in VelociDrone 1.14 that I've been holding off telling you about because this one is actually really quite a nice feature and I wanted to leave it to the last minute before I talked about it. So what we've added in 1.14 is something to make watching the racing on VRL, and also when you're a pilot, this is also really useful when you're in a session if you want to spectate, and also when you're flying it gives you some extra feedback to kind of make the whole thing a bit more exciting, and for both spectators and for the pilots who are flying. So what we've added is the ability to know exactly who it is you're flying against. So if I can demonstrate this. If I go to spectator mode, you'll see that we now have these player tags on each of the players. So player Ash has this little targeting box around it, and my laptop over here has this little targeting box around it as well. And if I was to take off my laptop quad, I just need to switch the spectator camera. Well, I don't really need to switch it. If I just fly around here, you can kind of see how this works. So it now makes it really easy to know which quad is which. So in a race, you're no longer looking at the colours and wondering who's who. You can now actually see them nicely labelled in spectator mode. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is that if you're in FPV mode, and I just need to switch my transmitter from one machine to the other, so just bear with me a second. Using one transmitter across two machines. Probably ought to use two transmitters for this, but hopefully it gives me control in a moment. Yeah, there we go. Right. So you can see when I'm flying as well, I can see the other player, and I have a little targeting reticule that gets bigger as I get closer and smaller as I get further away. Now if I get quite a long distance off, all the way up here, you just get the little targeting box, and then when you get closer it will then add the label for the player underneath. So when you're racing you can see exactly who it is up ahead of you, and if you're on Discord you can warn them of your approach if you wish. So there we go, see that player sat there. Okay, so that's one part of it, but there is also an additional part of it as well, which is if I just switch this us over to single class here and start a race, what we now see is that the player colours for the labels are now in the player colours, so Ash in purple and Ashlap in blue, but you can see the boxes around both quads have gone green. And what this means in single class, and it only does this in single class, if you're an open class the box colours stay the colour of the player, but in single class what the green means is that you've got no prop damage. So what I can do here is I can just switch back to FPV mode, and I'm going to very deliberately smash my quad up here. Okay, so there we go, some 50% prop damage, and you can see now that my box here has gone orange, which is for 50%. So basically it goes green, then a sort of a yellowy colour, then an orange, then a darker orange, and then red for 100% prop damage. So what this means is that when you're in FPV mode and you're chasing another player, you can actually visibly see if the player up ahead of you on their targeting reticule, if it's not green, you know that they are vulnerable because they've got prop damage. If it is green, then you know that you've got a tough job on your hands to try and catch them and overtake them. And so it gives you that extra incentive to know whether you can push and catch someone or not. And for people who are watching, you've now got the player labels, and you've got an immediate visual of who's got prop damage and who hasn't, so you can see who's in the green and doing okay, and you can see who's handicapped and really struggling to try and keep up with the rest of the players. Okay, so that's it. That's the new feature, and I hope it adds a new element to the racing, both for spectating and for racing. And the one thing I will mention is that you can also control how this works. There's a menu item for it in screen settings. It's right at the bottom of screen settings. It's called player tags, and in there you can set it to only turn them on in spectator view, so you can not have these if you don't want them in FPV, or you can have it on always, which means it'll be on in FPV and spectator mode, or you can turn it off altogether and not have them at all. Okay, so that's it, and I'll see you on the next video.